Okay, I think now I am live. I hope I am. Okay. So, good evening, everyone. Good evening. There I am. Now I'm live. Okay. Now I'm live. Still getting used to the new Facebook Live for uh, videotaping. Let me turn my sound. Okay. So there I am. I am live. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Hello. It's Lady Victoria with Victoria School of Etiquette, and I am broadcasting to you live from the great windy city of Chicago. Let me adjust my camera just a little bit. Broadcasting to you live from the great windy city of Chicago. Chi-Town is what we like to call it. We are the best in the Midwest, and I'm so happy to have you be a part of our platform on this evening. Lady Victoria here, your etiquette educator and your certified worthy method life coach, coming to you this evening with Thursday's thoughts. Thursday thoughts. Let me first preface by saying please like and share across your various social media platforms. I'm very appreciative of that. And again, thank you so much for being here. Oh, everything looks kind of fuzzy. So I hope I'm not fuzzy while I'm live. That looks a little better. Maybe my glasses just need cleaning real good. But anyway, good evening, everyone. I'm so glad to be here. It seems like it's been a while, but it has. It's been a while since I've been on, but it's been so busy here at work and with the lockdown here in Chicago, along with every place else, it's been a little bit crazy. My regular work is a essential business, and so we are open, serving the population of women that we serve, and it's been a little bit hectic. It really has been a little bit hectic, but I am grateful and blessed to be able to still have a job that I can be at, that I can go to every single day, and serve the population that I do, and help hopefully to make a difference in the lives of women and children every day. And I know that that's the truth. That's what I've been doing for the past 2 years, and these past few weeks is no different. So thank you for your prayers and your support. Those of you that have reached out, those of you that have been checking in, and I'm grateful for those that I've been able to check in with. You seem to be doing well. And again, I am grateful for that and so many other things. But listen, I'm not going to go on and on and on about that. But I do just want to say again, thank you for your love and your support. Thank you for continuing to support Victoria School of Etiquette. Um, it is very, very much appreciated. So today, Thursday's thoughts are just the things that are rolling around in my head that I like sharing with you, my viewing audience. So please like and share, and don't be shy about commenting below. Share your comments on below and tell me what you think as well. So some of the things that I've been thinking about, especially now with the pandemic going on and everybody being quarantined, it makes me stop and go, And I'm sure that some of these things make you stop and go, as well. So, some of the things that I've had the privilege and the honor of seeing, sharing, and or being a part of. Oftentimes, when you live in a community setting, meaning that you live with a group of people that aren't related to you. Um, my job requires that. I live in a community of people that aren't related to me, and I sometimes find it interesting the things that we experience on a day-to-day basis. And this is not to belittle anyone or anything like that. I'm just having a little fun with some of the things that I notice and some of the things that I partake of on a daily and a weekly basis. The way that you do a thing, you tend to think that everybody does that same thing the same way. But if you live long enough, you'll find out that there are many different ways of doing everything. And just because you are accustomed to doing something a certain way doesn't mean that everybody else does it the same way. Folding laundry. That's a typical weekly task. Folding laundry. How do you fold your towels, your large bath towels? I take and fold them widthwise from end to end in half. And then I fold that half in thirds, in half again. And then I take that half and fold it in thirds, folding one end over the other. And I just kind of thought that everybody else did it that way because that's how I was raised to do it. But there are people that don't fold them widthwise. There are people that fold them lengthwise and then fold them in half again and put them in the closet. Well, to me, that's the wrong way to fold a towel because the other way takes up more space. So I don't fold my towels that way. So when I see them folded the other way, instinctively, or I guess I should say habitually, I take them and refold them the way I fold them and then put them back in the closet. And then somebody else comes along and wonder, who folded the towels this way? I said, well, I did because they were folded incorrectly. And automatically the answer is, oh, well, I didn't know that. So if this is how you prefer to have them folded, then I will fold them that way. Funny, right? Little bitty thing, just like that. And I know everyone has experienced the toilet paper issue. Everyone has experienced the toilet paper issue. Which way do you like the toilet paper? Do you like it rolled over or do you like it rolled under? Rolled under to me is incorrect. So again, I will automatically take the toilet paper off the roll and turn it the other way around so that the downside is facing me, not that the downside is facing the back of the roll. I like the downside facing me because for me it seems easier to grab a hold of. And so that's how I do toilet paper. And everyone has had the experience of the toothpaste, right? Are you a middle person? Do you squeeze from the middle or do you squeeze from the end? I kind of squeeze from the middle when I'm getting started with the toothpaste roll, but long before it's halfway done, I go to the end because then I don't know, maybe it's my weird OCD-ness that my youngest daughter tells me that I have that I not vehemently but strongly disagree that I do not have OCD, that I am not OCD. But after a little while, that impression in the middle just looks off. And so I have to have the tube be uniform. So then I start squeezing from the end, from the bottom, so that the rest of the tube that has paste in it is nice and fat and uniform. Isn't that silly? Is that a silly little it's a little silly little thing, but it's just one of those things that I experience. And again, when you live in a community setting, it doesn't have to even be a community, just in your own household. As your children grow and evolve, and maybe as you get older, things that you did a certain way when you were younger, your younger parenting days, or your younger days of being married, maybe it wasn't a big deal and maybe now it is, or vice versa. Maybe it was a big deal then and now it's like you don't even care. Just as long as the cap is on the toothpaste and toilet paper isn't all over the floor and the towels and the sheets aren't just thrown into the linen closet any type of way. Maybe it doesn't matter really how they get folded, just that they're in there, right? And they're nice and clean and fresh. So that's funny. That's funny. Another thing that I have noticed in community living is, again, when you're living with other people and you're living with other people's young children, how many of you are surprised? Good evening, Deirdre. Good evening. I'm just talking about my Thursday thoughts, the things that are running around in my head. And did you know that people do things completely different than the way that you normally do them? And the way you do them, you think it's right because you've been doing it that way all your life. So now I'm talking about when you're living with other people's young children. Now, the way I was raised, children were taught to be quiet and not to be seen. You could be in the room, but nobody needed to know that you were there. So you didn't make noise, you didn't talk a lot, you dare not interrupt an adult conversation, and you dare not partake of that conversation if you weren't addressed. It was a privilege for you to be in the same room with your parents and their adult friends or adult relatives, but you were just there in the room. You were not to participate. But so many children today, young children, I mean 3, 4, and 5-year old children, 8, 9, and 10-year old children are part of adult conversations. And I mean adult conversations. Young children are just as much a part of the conversation as are the adult peers. And I'm shocked by that. I couldn't make a comment on anything that my mother or my grandmother or my aunt or my mother's friend said. If I had the privilege of being in the room, I just better sit there and be quiet. But nowadays, I'm finding that younger parents, some of them allow their children to partake in their very adult conversations. And I mean, when they're talking about drugs, when they're talking about alcohol, when they're talking about partying, and yes, even the taboo subject, the sex subject, when they're talking about sex. Some of these parents talk about these things verbally, openly, with their young children. Do they even know what sex is? At 5, at 4? And even if they do, why are they a part of the conversation? Hmm. That one I couldn't get with. That one I couldn't get with. I don't understand it. But you know what? The adults that are in the room, they're old enough to be my children. So obviously we have different thought processes because we come from different eras. And so we you know, oftentimes behave in the way of the era that we were brought up in. And so I find that unbelievable that you would have that detailed of a conversation with a child and allow them to comment and offer their opinion and their thoughts. They're too young to have a thought about that. They don't even know what it is. Anyway, just another thing that I noticed sometimes, and that's a thought that rolls around in my head. Why would you allow your child to do that? Another thing about young children, um, we grew up as children having child-sized portions of food because it was just about sinful to waste food. You didn't waste food. You ate the food that was on your plate and you ate all of it. You know, your parents gave you as a child, you got a child-sized portion. But nowadays, I see sometimes children being served way more than you know that they're going to eat. And the parent sometimes is constantly saying, eat all of your food, eat all of your food, eat all of your food. But it's more than a child sized portion. So I don't know what need that comes out of. And oftentimes we have to be careful and think about the background in the situation of the person that's on the other side. So maybe they were accustomed to not having enough. And so maybe this is why sometimes they serve more because you had to get yours in now. You had to get yours in now. And so I see children that are forced to eat food off of their plate that they don't want, or they're served a really large portion and then it just goes to waste. So my mindset is this: if you give a smaller portion and you want more, there's more. So you can always have more, right? But if I give you too much and it's too much to eat and you're not going to eat it and then it gets thrown out, then that's food that is wasted. And so again, that's just a mentality that I grew up with. But oftentimes, people coming from different socioeconomic backgrounds have completely different mindsets about the various things and behaviors that they do. And so, we also have to be thoughtful and mindful about that and not be so critical. And I raise my hand to be the first one to say, don't be so critical because sometimes we don't know what's going on in the background. We don't know why some of the things that are being done, or why some of the things that are being said. Talking about toilet paper and toothpaste, being squeezed in the middle or squeezed at the bottom, toilet paper being overside or underside, toilet seats being up or down, depending upon the household that you live in and how many of which gender live in the household. Things like that are small things. But when we come to the larger things in life, things that affect people's psyche, um, things that they are yet overcoming, various traumas that people are overcoming in their lives. All of these things and so much more. Abuses of different kinds, environments that they've grown up in, whether they've been healthy, whether they looked healthy on the outside, but they may have been very dysfunctional on the inside. All of these things play a part in why we do the things that we do, and some of them seem so minute, some of them seem very minuscule in the eyes sometimes of the observer, but not knowing the background, the history, and the patterns that other people may have grown up in. Cultural household patterns and behaviors affect you as a child and oftentimes carry over into your adult life. If you haven't had counseling, if you haven't had therapy, if you haven't been exposed to something different than the lifestyle that's been presented to you, that you are living in full living color every single day, if you don't know anything else, you can't do anything else. So I kind of poked fun at the things that I mentioned earlier. But on a more serious side, why sometimes there are children running around the room, just screaming and playing and into everything, and perhaps not appropriately dressed, perhaps not even appropriately fed. What's going on in the life of that child? But even also what's going on in the life of that parent, that this is something that's being allowed. And please understand that I am not pointing an accusatory finger at anyone. I'm just openly talking about some of the experiences that I've had the privilege to share in the community that I am in. And some of the things is really sad to the heart. It's really saddening to the heart sometimes, the things that you see, because you know that it is based on some other thing other than what's being presented to you. Um, I started last year reading up about various traumas and things that we go through as an adult, and stumbled across a lot of things. There are behavior mindsets that are associated oftentimes with definitely with trauma, with poverty, with homelessness, um, with many other things. ACEs, those things that happen to us in childhood that we carry over into our adult lives, that without therapy, really without therapy, without consultation, without some kind of tool that we can use, not so much to change our past, because we can't, it's already happened. You can't change your past, but you can affect the outcome of your future if you have the correct tools, if you have the correct training, if you have the correct counseling, if you can connect with someone that understands what it is you're going through, or understands how to help you to navigate what it is you're going through, or have gone through, to help you make different choices in your life. Those things are the things that help to make a difference. And oftentimes we are very critical when we look at people not knowing the whole story of what's behind their story. And so we look at it and we point the finger oftentimes and we say, well, look at that. I never thought I would see such a thing. Um, I would just advise, and especially now, because we're going through what we're going through. The whole world is in a pandemic. The entire world is in a pandemic. And so much of the world is closed because of what we are going through now. But we have to be really careful now because we're all going through this. But what about so many other people that were already going through something before all of this happened? What about all the other people that were in the midst of whatever trauma they were in, whether they're being abused at home, whether they're being molested at school or at work, whether they are being bullied at school and at work? Bullying isn't just for kids. Let me just stop right here and say that bullying does not just happen to children. Bullying happens to adults at home, in their workplace, and even amongst their circle of friends, so called friends, where they take advantage of people emotionally, they take advantage of people spiritually. That's not right. It's not right at all. But it's something that happens to adults, and adults find themselves just as trapped in a bullying situation as children do. They feel helpless, they feel hopeless, and they feel defenseless. And they don't have the tools, the language, or the understanding of how to get past it, out of it, let alone get beyond it. So, when we're thinking about the things that we do and why we do them that way, while we're thinking about those things and we turn it inside out and wonder why are other people doing the very same thing that we do, why they do it differently, there's a reason for it. Oftentimes it just has to do with how you were brought up and how you were raised. Other times it has to do with other triggers in your life that's based on something else that has been so buried, that has been so buried deep beneath your psyche, because deep within your psyche, because you want to forget it. You want to forget about the trauma. But while you may forget about it emotionally on a certain level, physically, your body remembers all of the trauma that happens to it. You have to retrain your body to no longer remember that, you know what, this happened to me here, and, this happened to me here, and this happened to me over here. And all of these things happen. And so the body remembers it. The nerve endings in our nervous system remembers that trauma. And when something else happens to trigger it, those neuroreceptors, I believe that's the right term that I'm using. Beatrice, you can help me out with that one maybe. Those neuroreceptors in the body remembers the trauma. And so we have to learn how to retrain our brains to not remember, or to at least to overcome it and replace it with something better so it doesn't remember the trauma and the pain, which oftentimes keeps us bound, keeps us in a place where we're not progressing, and keeps us in a place where all we remember is the pain, and we don't know how, or we can't remember how to even get out of it, let alone get over it. So these are just the thoughts of Lady Victoria on this Thursday thoughts, the things that run around in my head. I'm always interested to hear what it is that you're thinking about, and how it affects you. How has it affected your life? How has it also even made a difference? Or maybe it hasn't made a difference in your life. Yes, you said, I'm just now seeing the comments. Yes, I wasn't raised that way. And true. Yes, yes. We're all raised different. We're all raised different. Um, if you find yourself in a group of just three people or more, it's almost guaranteed that there are going to be three people in the room that are going to say, no, I wasn't raised that way. Or I wasn't taught to do it that way. Or I never looked at it that way. I never thought about it that way. Oh, I never thought that way was possible. I never even thought about doing it that way. So we find ourselves in various situations, whether we are in our work community, whether we are in a community of friends, or whether we're in a community of new people that we don't know. There's always a different way. There's more than one way to do everything. And people do it in a way that suits them best and that is easiest for them, because not everybody responds well to a challenge. And so not everybody wants to do it a different way. Some people are comfortable with doing it the way they're doing it, even if the way that they're doing it isn't the most effective way for them. Sometimes that's sad but true. Sometimes people have gotten so comfortable with their hurt or their pain until it's easier to hold on to it than it is to free themselves and allow themselves to come out from under the thing that is keeping them bound or just keeping them at a standstill. So I could go on, but it's already late. And I said I wasn't going to be long. Tonight is Lady Victoria with Victoria School of Etiquette. I am your etiquette educator and your certified worthy life coach. So happy to have you be a part of our platform on tonight. Please like and share. I was speaking on, okay. I was raised to be seen and not heard during adult conversations. Oh, that's right. Yes, your mom, the actress, is yes, the wonderful, beautiful age of 95. And she looks good for her age, too. I saw when you posted the pictures up a few weeks ago. Yes, we were taught to be seen and not heard during adult conversations. And if you, in my house, if you looked like you were going to say anything, you got that look from mom, they said you better not open your mouth. If you did, you knew what was coming later. You knew what was coming later, what was coming afterward. And so that's the environment that I grew up in. And by and large, I raised my children pretty much the same way. I think I shifted a little bit. I have four. I'm blessed to have four all adult children now. Praise the Lord. Uh, and I pretty much raised them that way. My oldest daughter often, though, times tells me, "Mom, you raise her and my oldest son, John, Rachel and John, I raised them differently than I do my last two." And at first, that was away with that generation. That's very true. That is very true. That's how they were raised, and it's all they knew. But as I became a parent the first two times, and then when I became a parent again the second two times, I was a different person. I was a different person. So I relaxed the rules a little bit. And I didn't use the leather as much. One children, two, children three and four, but children one and two probably got a little bit more of the leather than did three and four, and I've been reminded of that. But I said when I look back at it, though, I had to agree with her that she was right. That I did raise the last two a little bit differently. Now they all have the same values. They all have the same value system for life, and they all got the same spiritual upbringing. But some of the things where I was very strict and very rigid in some areas of rearing up my children. I learned to relax it a little bit and listen, um, listen to them and understand that their personalities were very different. And as I grew and evolved, as a mom and as a woman, then I realized that, what? It's really not going to hurt to do some things a little bit differently. So I'm not going to tell their ages and at the same time tell mine, but um, as I grew, I became a little bit wiser, and my children benefited from that. And so I would hope that because of this broadcast, that we would sometimes check ourselves. As a matter of fact, I said I would adopt something new, a new philosophy for myself, not just in my work environment, but just period. When I'm faced with a situation, I have to ask myself, am I being fair? Am I being fair to that person in the situation? Am I following the rules or the guidelines for the situation that I am in? Am I following them to the best protocol? And am I giving the best of myself earnestly and honestly in that situation? Or am I being biased to my own thought? Am I being fair? Am I following the rules and the guidelines? Am I able to show compassion? And am I fully considering the other person and how they may feel and how they may be affected by the decision that I'm making? So, just four little things that I began to think about myself in the past week or so. And just in life and in the workplace, sometimes we have to make decisions and choices, and they do affect other people. And so we have to take the time. I think, to put that to the test and ask ourselves that question sometimes before we make choices and decisions that really affect another person and sometimes affects the trajectory of their life in their life journey in that moment. So I hope that you have enjoyed the broadcast on this evening. And as I said before, please like and share across the various social media platforms. So appreciate you being here on tonight. And thank you for participating. And so, this is Lady Victoria, your etiquette educator and your worthy life coach, signing off for now on Thursday's Thoughts. Until next time, we'll chat again. Good night, everyone, and bye for now.